Welcome to the voice broadcasting training. In this video, I am going to show you how to set up your voice broadcast campaigns, as well as a lot of the other features that our software has to offer. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to, of course, log in. And in order to do that, you'll need to know your username and password. Once you know that, you just enter it into the username and password spot and click Log In. This will bring us to what we call Campaign Central. Campaign Central is the interface where you can control all of your campaigns, and you'll see what you've done in the past 48 hours. If you want to see what you've done in the past week, the past month, or all of your campaigns, you simply change this setting. Below, I've got some campaigns that I've created today. Above that, you'll see the account name, just says demo, and that's where you'll find your account name if somebody asks you for it. Your balance is over here, and you can't run a campaign with a zero balance. You do have to fund your account and bring that into the positive. In order to do that, you need to make a payment under account management, but you can do that later. You can basically do everything that you want. You can play around with the system. You can create campaigns. You just won't be able to run any until you fund your account. All right. Below this, I see my campaign names. I have the start and stop times. These are always listed in Eastern time. The status says pending, which means that it's waiting for me to schedule the campaigns. I would also need to choose phone lines to dial phone numbers. And as my campaigns run, I'll see how much money I'm spending. That'll be deducted from the balance. I'll see how many calls are going to machines, how many calls are going to live people. If I'm using touch-tone voicemail, how many people are hitting that touch-tone button, how many people are hitting the touch-tone transfer button, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. You also have the opportunity to edit campaigns. View campaign really does the same thing. It'll take you into step one. You can view the reports of a campaign, and we'll cover all these in a little bit. But let's talk about the drop-downs up here. The main drop-down is your Campaign Central drop-down. View Modify Campaigns will always bring you back to this main page. Adding a campaign is how you create a campaign. Upload DNC list. DNC stands for Do Not Call. So please do not load up your list here that you want to contact. This would be for anyone that you want to not call, because this would go to your Do Not Call list, and we'll cover that in a little bit. Download DNC list if you ever want to download your Do Not Call list. And if you want to redial a list, you can use our Rework List feature. Rework means redial. There is a 24-hour time limit on the Rework List feature, and I'll show you that feature after we get through the campaigns and things like that. Again, account management, you can make a payment here. Every time you make a payment, you do have to enter your credit card information. It's not stored under one of these settings. So the only setting or the only selection here that you'll usually ever use is your make a payment. User management, if you want to give someone else access to your account, you can. Just make sure you check off all the boxes so they have the right features when they log in. Again, that's user management. You can give somebody their login and password. In addition to logging in, they'll be able to see what you do, but it's, say you have a business partner or somebody that you want to have access to the system, you can give them their own username and password. Reports, you can view reports here. You can also view reports here. Basically, by reports, it means a breakdown of where all the calls go. Log out will log you out. So let's go to adding a campaign, and that's really what we need to get into to talk about voice broadcasting. And so we click Add a Campaign. When you click Add a Campaign, what it's going to do, it's going to ask you to accept the terms of service, and to do that, you need to scroll down, and you'll need to do this every time you create a campaign. Click I agree, and it'll take you into step 1 of 4. Step 1 is the scheduling step. On the scheduling step, you'll need to fill in everything that has an asterisk. On the message step, which is step 2, you'll need to choose your messages or load them up. On step 3, it's the list step. You know, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's where you load up your list, or you select one that you've already loaded if you haven't dialed all the numbers. And then on the final step, you just schedule the campaign and you choose your phone line. So it's really just 4 steps. Now, the first thing that I see on step 1, which again is the scheduling step, is copy settings. If I've done a campaign before, I have the opportunity to save time by copying the settings of a previous campaign. And you may want to call them something that differentiates them from the other one. So if you're saving yourself time and you're using touch-tone voicemail, you could copy the settings for that campaign so you know that it goes to touch-tone voicemail. If you're doing a live only, you do that. If you're doing a live and answering machine campaign, I could choose this. But what I'm going to do is I'm not going to copy the settings. I'm going to fill everything in, on this page. Pretend I haven't done a campaign before. For all you guys that are brand new out there, this is what it'll look like. You won't see copy settings. You'll see repeat campaign as your first setting. So if you want a campaign to repeat, you can choose one of these settings. I recommend when you're getting familiar with the software that you leave it on Do Not Repeat, because if you choose Copy and Schedule every day, it will copy and schedule every day. And so if you have a list that has a lot of data in it, you're going to be dialing that. And if you weren't ready for that, please don't choose it. So again, if you don't know what these are, don't understand them, or are just getting familiar, please leave it on Do Not Repeat. If you're comfortable with the system, by all means, Repeat Campaign is here to make things easy and make things fast for you and stuff like that. So Do Not Repeat is what we'll choose here. Campaign type. Live only means it only targets live people, and it will hang up on machines. It means it's looking for the live person to play a message for. If it goes to a machine, it will hang up. Our system looks for verbal patterns. The opposite of that is answering machines only. It will disconnect from live people and only leave messages on machines. Some organizations and accounts like to target businesses after hours, so they would do an answering machine only campaign to leave messages for those businesses, and hopefully somebody will get that message to the decision maker, or that decision maker will get that message when they check the messages themselves. Live and answering machine means that you are targeting both live people and machines. Our system, again, tells the difference. It will play the live message for live people. It will play the machine message for answering machines and voicemails. So we'll do live and answering machines so we can talk about both. Campaign name, I'll just choose Demo Live in AM. And let's say we want to run it today, October 12th. And I'm actually going to call this 2 because I already have one in there called this. If you want to run a campaign tomorrow, next month, next year, you can schedule your campaigns for that. You can pre-schedule your campaigns for as far out as you want. Let's say you're going on vacation, you want to have campaigns running, that's great. You can. You have to schedule your campaigns to run in the future. Our system will dial numbers between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. All right? It will not call numbers before 9 a.m. or after 9 p.m. in any time zone. So to set this in the future, what I mean by that is you have to set it to at least 1 minute in the future, and it's 3:21 where I'm at. So I'm going to set this to 3:30 p.m., which should give us enough time to talk about this step and hit next before 3:30 comes up. It gives us 8 minutes, and this stuff really isn't that complicated. Time zone setting, you don't have to choose where you're located, but these are your selections. So if you're in Europe scheduling a campaign, you can, but you have to pick a time in the future. And if I choose 3:30 p.m. Pacific time, that's a time in the future. So I'll choose that. That means I can get to the next step. So 3:30 p.m. hasn't happened yet. But if I try to choose 3:30 Eastern time, that's already happened. It's not in the future, so I can't choose that. So I have to choose one of these, and it has to be a time in the future. Of course, if I was doing it tomorrow, I could choose 3:30 Eastern time, and so on. Anyway. The touch tone features. Now, this is probably the most complicated part of step 1. With your live answer message, you can tell people to hit buttons on the phone that can do 3 different things. You can tell them to press a button to transfer to you. You can tell them to press a button to leave you a voicemail. And you can tell them to press a button to be removed from the list. Now, a standard press 1 campaign, that's what we call these press 1s, has people pressing 1 to transfer and pressing 9 to be removed. Now, when they press 1, let's say my message says, "Hi, I've got a great business opportunity for you. To find out more information, press 1. If they press 1 while they're listening to my live message, they'll be taken to whatever number I put in here. And I'm just going to put in a generic number. All right. The people that are in my lead list, my leads, they do not see this transfer number. Okay. This number is invisible to them. They are simply connected to it when they press 1. Now, you also have to enter a caller ID number. And the caller ID will be broadcast out to everyone in your lead list if they have caller ID. So again, you need to take that in consideration. So some people, they have a voice mailbox that goes to, it's their company number. Some other people get a different caller ID number. You know, it's those types of things. But if you were to use, say, your home or your cell phone, you got to understand people might be calling you and inundating you with calls, or you may get calls at all hours when you're not prepared to. So something to remember, the caller ID will go out to everyone in your lead list. The transfer number does not. These do not need to be the same numbers. They do not need to be toll-free numbers. You can use local numbers for either. It's up to you to know what you're doing and put in the caller ID number and the transfer number. So again, if somebody presses 1, it opens up another line and sends them to this number. Now, if this is a voice mailbox on this other line, that person that pressed 1 will then hear that voice mailbox message. And if they leave a message, then you'll be getting it and able to act on that message. If they press 9, that means they're automatically added to your do not call list. All right. If you want to receive report updates by email, you can type those in here. You don't have to. All you have to do on this step is fill everything in with an asterisk. Another thing that can hold you up from getting to the next step is if you hit next and it blanks out your campaign name, take out any punctuation or symbols. Just keep it simple. Leave out the pound sign, leave out the dollar sign. And like I said before, you have to have the time in the future. I don't know how many people I've spoken with that say, I keep pressing next and it won't get me past the next step. Check your campaign name, check your time in the future, make sure that you've got all the asterisked items filled in. You do not have to do anything with this comment section. Again, it's just for your own information. It doesn't have any impact on the software. So we'll go ahead and click Next. And on the message step, if you're doing a live and answering machine campaign, you have a spot for the live answer message and you have a spot for the answering machine message. Again, this is the message that will be played for live people. This is one that can include those interactive features. This one's left on machines. For those people that don't answer the phone, it gets to a voicemail box. It will leave this in there. All right. If you want to load up a WAV file, you can. All you have to do is browse for it, find it. If you're brand new, it'll say there are no messages available. But once you either record a message or load up a WAV file, you'll have them. I've actually recorded a message using the message recording line, and that's down here. It's called Answering Machine 0. If I wanted to select it, I can. But let's talk about loading up the WAV file before we talk about recording a message using the message recording line. Okay. What you want to do, if you have a WAV file on your computer, that's our accepted file type. You simply browse for it, find it, and double-click on it. And then I can name it something if I want. Otherwise, it'll just call it by the file name. But I click Next. And it can take several minutes, but it shouldn't, depending on your connection. It should just load in under a minute. So there it is. It's already in there. Live demo message. I've got it in there. So if I select this, it's now selected. Okay? That's how you load up a WAV file. If I would have described it as something, it would name it something different here. All right? But we've got it just called by the file name. Now, if you don't have a WAV file and you want to use our message recording line, you'll call the number listed on step 2, and your number may be different than this one, but your user ID will be listed on step 2. Yours is not 12635, but you will need to know your user ID when you call the number listed on step 2, and then you'll need to know the numeric version of your password for the software. All right. So you take your password. If it was password 123, if you wrote it down, take a look at a standard phone keypad. It would look like this. All right. Most likely your password is not password 123, so what you want to do is take a look at the standard phone keypad, and any letter in your password equals a number. The number remains the same. So when you call the number for the message recording line, you enter the user ID into the phone, and then you enter your numeric password. Once you do that, she'll give you your options. Option 1 is the live answer message, again, where you can say press 1 for more information, press 9 to be removed. Option 2 is the answering machine message. This is a message you're leaving on people's machines. You leave out the interactive features. You can tell people to call you back at this number, to visit your website, things of that nature. Now, I did record one using the message recording line. I pressed option 2. I recorded the message after the tone, and then you hit pound, and then she'll give you your options. Option 1 is to listen to your message. Option 2 is to save your message. Option 3 is to re-record. When you're done listening and re-recording and you're happy with your message, you press 2. She'll then ask you if you want to record another message. If you don't, you just hang up. If you do, you press 1. But if you're sitting on this page, you need to return to the page. To do that, you just hit refresh or F5, or use the back arrow and the forward arrow, or log out and log back in, and then your message will be listed in the drop-down. If you record an answering machine message, it will be in the answering machine category. And it will have the date you recorded it and a number assigned to it.
Hi, this is Adam, and this is a demo message for the answering machine message category.
Okay, and so that's how you would record it. I just recorded that over the phone. Depends on your phone line and everything else for the clarity of it, but you can load up WAV files, and you can use our message recording line. That's step 2. To get to step 3, you have to choose your messages. Other than that, there's nothing that can hold you up, but you have to make sure that depending on the categories that are listed here, you basically have to have them selected. So we'll go ahead and click Next. And we're on to step 3. Now, I haven't loaded any lists into this account yet, but our system takes XLS, CSV, and text. Text is like Notepad, so you can use Notepad. The easiest way to load up phone numbers is to load up the phone numbers only. All right, and if you have Excel, CSV is very easy to use. All you have to do is browse for your Excel file. Now, it also takes XLS, which is the standard format. But again, phone numbers only Easiest way to load up a list. So I'm going to start off with this one called data training. It's in CSV. I'll just double click on that. And we'll name this combined list. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to combine data list 1 or data training and data training 2 into one list. So I'll call this combined list, and what we're going to do is we're going to click load. Okay, so again, we browsed for it, double clicked on it, click load. And there's a dot over the phone numbers. You can see I've got some spaces in here. You can have hyphens, parentheses, and everything else, but it's going to give you just a sample. So we'll go ahead and click next. And then if we want to remove numbers on the United States National Do Not Call list, we can leave this checked. If you want to remove mobile numbers, we leave this checked. Click next. And now what it's going to do is it's going to break down. If you leave both boxes checked, it's going to take those numbers out, and it's going to leave those numbers. It's going to break them down. I had 1,256 numbers. I had 4 numbers removed off the internal DNC. There are numbers on our global internal Do Not Call list. All right, 622 on the United States National, and then these other numbers were removed for a variety of reasons. And I ended up with 245 numbers. So if you do the scrubs, you can see that it can really narrow down your list. But we'll go ahead and click next. So again, 1,256 isn't a big list, but I ended up with 245 numbers. So let's say that's not enough numbers for me. I'm looking for more numbers. Well, let's say you have another list on your computer. You can browse for that other list and find it. All right. Underneath this, you see the time zone settings. Before I add that other list, let's describe those. I see my numbers broken down here by where they're located, and I have time zone settings. To include the numbers that you want to call, you need to select your time zone settings. All right. If I only wanted to call the Pacific numbers, I could choose Pacific to Pacific. It means it would only focus on the Pacific numbers. If I want to allow it to dial numbers in all the time zones listed here, I choose Pacific to Eastern. Okay. If I just want to dial these 245, that's fine. I just go ahead and check this box, and then click next. Now, if I'm unhappy with this total and I want to add more numbers to it, you can. That's what add list is for. All right. But again, some people get caught in a loop down here thinking that they have to keep adding a list. That's not the case. This down here is only if you want to combine another list to this one. So we go browse, go to data training 2. Again, I'm loading up a list that has the phone numbers only. Maybe I didn't hit the button there. There's a dot filled in above the phone numbers. Because of Skype, I've got a little bit of a different look to them. These have hyphens, but again, you can have brackets, parentheses, dots. It'll do its best to find all the 10-digit numbers. But again, can't stress it enough. The easiest way to load up your numbers into the system is the phone numbers only. So we click next. If you want to scrub it, you leave those checked. Click next. And in this list, there were 2,000 numbers. And 30 removed on that, 899 there, and there. And any of these items in blue you can click on to look at those numbers, but I ended up with 809. So those 809 will be combined to the previous 245, and I have a total of 1,054 numbers now. So that's how you would combine lists together, all right? And so if we're ready to dial that, we just simply check this box, click next, and we're on to the final step. You have to see a number in the total. If you see a 0 in the total, that means your list did not load properly. Either you have it in the wrong format, or, again, our system takes XLS, CSV, and text, or you try to load it up with too much information and it didn't take. All right? Over here, what we see on the last step, there's only 2 things that you need to do. You need to choose your phone lines, and again, you have options of 1 through 200, and you have your current status. All right? You need to change it from pending to scheduled. All right? That means that it will start at the start time. And then you need to choose lines. If you leave it at 0, it will not dial. I'm not actually going to schedule the campaign because it will cancel because I do not have any funds in the account. You need to, again, have a positive balance to dial. One other thing that you may want to do on this page is you may want to make sure that everything here looks good and that your messages are here. And in all likelihood, they will be. I've never seen them not be, but you want to just check over everything maybe before you schedule your campaign, make sure that everything looks good. All right? And that's how we create a campaign. Those are the 4 steps. Final step, choosing your lines and scheduling the campaign. Once you're done with that, you can log out, or we can go check out our campaign on the main page. Since it's after 3:30 where I'm at, Pacific time, if we were to watch this campaign, if I had actually scheduled it, all right, if I had scheduled it and chosen phone lines, I could hit refresh every few minutes or so and watch these things populate. Again, this is always listed in Eastern time. So the money spent would be deducted from my balance, and again, you could hit refresh every 5 minutes or so, or every minute or so. Also, you can check out where all the numbers are going under View Reports. You click on View Reports, it will break down where all the calls went, total calls, total connections. Any of these items in blue you can click on. You could also toggle between other campaigns, things like that. All right, so it'll break down where all the calls go. If your campaign hasn't started yet and you want to edit it, that's where Edit and View can come in. They'll take you right back to step 1. But let's say your campaign's running and you want to stop it or slow it down or speed it up. You hit the arrow inside the circle over here, and you can move your lines up while it's running, or you can move them down while it's running if it's moving too fast. If it's running and you want to pause the campaign, you can move it from running to pending. You can move it back and forth between pending and running as long as you're within the start and the end time. Now, if you just wanted to complete the campaign, you just move it to completed, and it will completely stop the campaign. And if you have numbers left in the list, you can go into another campaign or add another campaign, select that same list, and it will start dialing from where it left off. So if your campaign doesn't complete all the numbers, you can still dial those numbers. You just, in another campaign, you add another campaign, or if you have another one already created, you just go in, you select that list, and it will begin dialing from where it left off. So let's say we've completed this campaign. Let's say that we completed it. So we'll move it to completed. And let's say there were numbers still in it, in the list, all right? And we wanted to adjust something. You can't edit a campaign that's already run. So what we would do is we would go into another campaign. Okay, it canceled because I don't have any funds. But what you can do is if you don't have one created, but if you do have one created, we could go into edit this campaign. Let's say we wanted to run it live only, all right? We don't want to leave messages on machines. So we've got one created here called live only. We go into edit this campaign. And we want it, let's say we want it to start at 5 o'clock Pacific time, et cetera, et cetera. We've got all of our information in here. We click skip because we don't want to change anything. When you're doing live only, you'll only need to choose a live message. Okay, it'll begin playing in the player down at the bottom right. If you don't have the player, there should be...
Hello, this is Adam, and I've got a great business opportunity for you. To find out more information right now, press 1. If you would like to be removed from this list, press 9.
Okay, obviously that's an abbreviated demo message, but if you don't have the player down here, there should be a little alert, a pop-up bar that alerts you to run an add-on, and you will get this back. Again, I'm using Internet Explorer. That's what I found works best with our system. And so we click Next. And let's say we had stopped that campaign and we still had numbers in that list left over. We would just choose that list from the drop-down. Let's say it dialed half, so we'll do a little pretend here. It have 500 and some numbers. You just check the box, click Next, and it will begin dialing from where it left off. So it'll always tell you how many numbers have not yet dialed, as you see on this page. So you don't need to reload the list or worry about it redialing numbers. It will always remember where it left off, okay? So that's a demonstration of a live-only message, okay? Now, before I do the demonstration on what touch tone voicemail is, I'm going to go through some of the other features, because for anyone that's brand new, for some people at least, the touch tone voicemail complicates things. So let me go through some other things. Okay, once again, I said if you're running a campaign, you want to slow it down or speed it up or stop it, you hit the arrow inside the circle, so please remember that. If you want your campaign to stop, you can easily do that by hitting the arrow inside the circle. Now, let's say your campaign runs and some people say, take me off this list. They transfer to your voicemail box. They say, take me off this list. Or they call your caller ID back, leave you a message, or you talk to them, they say, take me off the list. To upload numbers into your do not call list, this would be a list that you manually create. There's a big red warning on this page saying, this is your do not call list. Do not load in the list that you want to contact. So, again, our system takes XLSC as for your text. I'm going to browse for a list that I call DNC list. You may want to do the same thing. Double click on that. I click Next. Put the dot above the phone number column. Okay, there it is. Click Next. Remove numbers from list now, sure, click next. And I've just added those two numbers into my do not call list. And any future list that I add, those numbers will not be imported. If I have numbers in an older list, it can take up to 2 weeks to take them off. Again, you do not need to worry about the people that press 9. Those are automatically added to your do not call list or whatever your removal feature is. Okay, reworking a list, because downloading your do not call list is self-explanatory. Reworking a list. If you want to redial a previously dialed list, you have to wait 24 hours, but all you have to do is select the list that you want to rework. Okay, we're going to do a little pretend here. We're going to pretend it's dialed all the numbers, meaning this is 0, and then we would choose the category that we want to rework. So if we wanted to choose, let's say 500 went to live and 500 went to answering machine. If we wanted to dial these at a later date, we can check these two boxes and click rework and click OK, and the numbers will be sent back into the list to be dialed. All right. Again, you have to wait 24 hours before you use this feature after dialing a list. The reason I focused on these top two, if you choose these busy, no answer, operator intercept, and all these other ones, you know, again, I'm not sure why you would want to rework the transfers, but busy, no answer, and operator intercept, they don't change. You can try them if you want, but you'll probably want to include the top two, because these numbers did not connect. So if you just selected these 3 categories, the chances of your campaign going what's called restricted are great. If too many of your calls don't connect to either a live person or an answering machine, your campaign will say restricted. What that means is that campaign's done. If you want to add another campaign and on step 3 select that same list that will now say restricted, it will try again if you schedule it. But if it gets the same amount of, or that same percentage of calls that are not connecting, it will restrict again. You can keep retrying it, or you want to try another list. But most of the time, if you just choose these and add them back into the list, your list will restrict because you're adding in calls that won't connect. So you may just want to focus on the top two numbers. All right. So we've gone over adding a campaign. We've gone over uploading numbers to your do not call list. We've gone over how you edit a campaign. We've gone over how you stop a campaign. Last part of this presentation is going to be talking about touch tone voicemail. If you don't care about it, then you can just leave the presentation now. But if you'd like to learn about touch tone voicemail, that's what this campaign is. So I'll just click Edit Campaign. It's going to take me right into it. Some people use this feature instead of touch tone transfer, which is what I've done here, meaning that I'm just going to do it as live only to not include the answering machine, just to talk about what touch tone voicemail is. Touch tone voicemail works with your live answer message. You can give people the option to press a button where they then hear what's called your voicemail message, and they can record a message that will be emailed to you, whatever email address you put in here, as a WAV file. All right? So if you're using it instead of touch tone transfer, you put no transfers. You put, if your message says press 1 for more information, put a 1 here. If they press the 1, you can see there's no transfer number anymore. They'll hear what's called your voicemail message. And whatever they record after the tone will be emailed to this email address. Now, if somebody presses the button and they don't record a message, you will not receive an email. You'll only receive emails to the email address you put in here if they record a WAV file. So, again, I'm putting a 1 here for touch tone voicemail. I'm going to show you what it looks like on the next step. So if you're doing live only with touch tone voicemail, we're not going to see an answering machine message over here because we're doing a live only campaign. But we're going to see a space for the live answer message and for the voicemail message. As soon as we get over there. Okay, so we choose our live answer message. And again, you know, press 1, press 9. I've got that one in there. Now, if they press 1, they'll hear what I have here. Now, if you use the standard one, this is what it sounds like.
To have a representative contact you, please leave your name, telephone number with the area code, and the best time to reach you after the tone.
You can certainly use that one. Personally, I think it sounds a little robotic. You can record your own using the message recording line. It's option 3 on the message recording line called the live answer voicemail message. Or you can load up a WAV file or use this one. So that's what touch tone voicemail is. It just simply means people hit a button on the phone, they hear a voicemail message, and whatever they record, you'll get that voicemail to that email address. Some people use it also with touch tone transfer. In that case, you would have touch tone transfer being a button, touch tone voicemail being a different button, and then the touch tone removal being a different button. But that's the presentation. Voice broadcasting just simply means you are sending out pre-recorded messages to your lead list, and they can act on them. They can act on the live ones by pressing buttons on the phone. Those are our interactive touch tone features. Or they could call you back or go to your website based on your answering machine message that you're leaving in their voicemail boxes. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. Hope it was informative. Thank you for your attention. Take care.